Hey everyone, it's Timmygobbles again, and I'm here to improve my HotSauce Joyride game. So starting off with, I want to make it so when you fly over an object, the little bits of hot sauce coming out of your bottle, make that object green. So I kind of have to figure out how the modulate attribute works. So here we go. And so the way that's working is, so the player is going to have a raycast pointing down, and on the physics update, we're going to check that raycast and see if there's an enemy colliding with it. And if so, it's going to call a function on the enemy that turns them green, and then that enemy is going to emit a signal when it hits the end of the thing, and that's going to give you bonus points. Is the goal of what's going on here. And also I want to play the coin sound as well, just to let you know that you got bonus points from that enemy, from that food. All right, and if they explode when they're sauced, instead of making an ouch face, they're all happy because they're covered in hot sauce. Everyone loves to be covered in hot sauce. Everyone should have a big smile on their face when someone comes by and dips the old Tapatio bottle over on them. Also, we're going to be using the green particles instead of the red ones. You know, I mentioned in the last video that I made 3 colors, and you know, by golly, I'm going to use them. Let's get that nice coin sound going here. All right, we need to connect that signal when we instantiate a new food flying across the screen. Okay, I got an issue here. I don't know if you caught it, but like it scaled the points a little too fast. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna add a lot of this stuff to the animation player because it's already doing a lot of the work. So I might as well add this logic to that animation player. What was the issue here? Oh, it was oh, you know, it was checking it in the physics update. So I think I either had to add another Boolean or I had to call that emit function like once or something. Yeah, that's what it was. It was in the it was in the enemy scene. I was just saying like it was just emitting that signal over and over again. The enemy was behind a certain X value instead of just emitting it once. Okay, so it's time for some power-ups. And I'm going to make 3. I'm going to have one's going to be points. And that's going to be the sushi. The sushi gives you bonus points when you hit it. It's going to move across the screen. And I want some sprinkles coming off of it. Just add a little flare. And okay, so they're going down, so we got to turn gravity off. And I want them sort of trailing behind. So what I do is I set, is it local? No, I turn local off so that the particles stay where they get emitted. And I give them a little random spawn area just so they don't spawn in a perfectly straight line. It'll be like a little distribution. All right, so we got to set up a logic. So where the player collides with stuff, I just set it up so that it checks to see if it's an enemy or if it's a power-up. And if it's a power-up, then it's going to do something. It's going to consume that power-up. So in world, we're going to need something that spawns them, just like we have spawning the ground and the enemies. Just spawn these two, and I don't know, I probably was answering the door or something there. Okay, so I'm gonna make a random variable whenever I spawn an enemy, and if that variable is large enough, then I'm gonna spawn a little power up too. All right, it's working. What's next? Oh, okay, so I think I was having some collision issues there. All right, hitboxes have been a little funny. With the enemies, there's those different PNGs for the different kinds of foods. What I need to do is I need to change the collision size to match the size of the PNG. Otherwise, you get kind of scammed by the little food items. And so what I want to do is I'm using that tile map to choose what the PNG looks like. I can actually take the width of the rectangle and use that to change the size of the collision shape. But, you know, I got to figure out what the exact code wording is. I was having a little trouble with that. And there we go. Got it. All right. It looks a little better. Look at that. It's really nice. There's that debug tab in the top left. And one of those settings you can turn on to show collisions. All right, it's time for another power up, the big broom. So the coffee mug is going to spawn a broom that just sweeps across the screen and gets rid of all the junk. So we need to add that in there. And you know, it needs a little bigger thingamabob. So I ended up setting up another one as well. So we're going to have the sweep, the points, and the invulnerability. Right now we're working on the sweep one. And now I'm going to create a function that sets these different ones up. Because I'm only having 3 types, so I don't need to worry about kind of reusing the code too much. I know everyone's like, oh, if you ever have to type something twice, you're gonna make that a use inheritance or something. But yeah, I'm lazy, so there we go. All right, time to do some math. What am I mathing here? I don't even know. Oh, okay. So I think I wanted to know how big I wanted to make the broom. And I think I wanted it about half the height of the screen. And, you know, if I'm going to have a broom that's sweeping, I'm going to need something that looks like a broom moving across the screen. Oh, now this looks pretty good, but it's a little lacking. So I'll take some of the built-in textures of wood grains and make a nice little rectangle for, you know, the base. And then I'm going to move this to the side a little bit, and that'll be the broom handle, the broom stick. Now I got to make some bristles. So I think this pattern looks pretty good, but I have no idea how to like copy paste it. So get that out of here. And I find that the brush has, one of the brushes is like kind of vertical scratches. So I end up using that, and I adjust it a little bit and pick a poopy brown color, and then ta-da, there we go. There's a broom. Look at it go. All right, now that I got the broom, and I was very careful about how big it was. It fits the size I kind of wanted, so I don't have to rescale it or anything. And there we go, ready to save the scene. Okay, so I'm going to use that last bubble. It's going to be the blue bubbles, and it's going to look kind of like a cleaning bubble. And I want it to kind of go from dim to a little bit brighter. So that's what I'm messing with, that gradient there. And, you know, the size is a little off, so we're going to change that a little bit. Fix this gradient. It's a little too dark. And there we go. The cleaning bubbles look pretty good. I know brooms, yeah, it really should be a mop, but it's a video game. Like, who cares? Who cares? It's not reality. Plus, like, the broom sweeping the sky, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so there's the pretty little broom. And now I got to put it in the world somehow. So, and I was trying to figure out how to do the sweeping action. I thought putting an animation player on it would work, but I ended up deciding to use the animation player I have on the world scene. It's going to make more sense because I'm moving the broom on the world scene. I'd have to do a little finagling if I'm looking at the offset of the broom. Okay, what have I got here? This full screen, you can't see anything. There we go. Okay, so I have it set up so that when it collides with something, it destroys it if it's an enemy, and leaves everything else alone. So that was working pretty well. One of the things I messed up, though, was I forgot that the function was called explode food and not just explode, so I had to fix that. Okay, so now it's time to make an animation of sweeping. So if you've ever swept a broom before, you pull it back a little bit and then you push it forward. So that's why we have these 2 close keyframes and then 2 far apart keyframes. So it moves back and it goes whoosh. And then when the broom's done, we want it to go away. So I'm gonna add a keyframe for changing the Y value. So it's just kind of gonna go off the screen. And what's next? Okay, so when it goes onto the screen, I kind of want it to do the same thing. And I'm going to use the easing. When it leaves, I'm going to have it ease in so that it gradually flies off the screen. And when it comes in, I'm going to have it ease out. So it comes down and then it's like a little soft cushion as it lands. Right, and now it's not playing because I haven't told World to play it. Now it's playing, it's sweeping across the screen at times 16 speed. You're not even going to be able to see it. Probably slow that down or something. Okay, so then for the power-ups, we kind of have them set up. There's 3 of them. I want the world scene to play the broom only when we hit that second kind of power-up. So I'm going to pick an int, and each type is an int, and I know I could have done this with enumerations, but I was lazy and I didn't know that there was this match function I can use. So now when I touch that coffee mug, it's going to play that broom sweeping animation across the screen. All right, it's time for shields. Right now, all it does is print, activate the shields or whatever when we hit that little goblet of juice. So I'm going to use that cleaning bubble and pretend that it's a shield, throw it on my player, and I just need to change the visibility when, also when I'm invulnerable, I'm just going to destroy the food. I'm not going to trigger my player collided with food signal. Right, so then I end up playing with the animation player so that when the shield's on, it starts out big and it gets a little smaller and a little dimmer to kind of indicate to the player that, you know, time is running out. And then on the last second of invulnerability, it's going to flicker on and off to tell them that they don't have very much time left before the shield's gone. And I haven't done it yet, but I eventually add in a sound for the shield when it turns on. There's a little wah wah wah. The shield timer ended up being incorporated in the animation player. So then I'm going to use the sauce timer for my ray cast. So I was having this issue where when you're holding down the space bar, everything below you turns green, but when you let go, some of the particles are still falling, and the player would expect those particles to dye the food green. About a half second after you let go of the space bar, it's still going to trigger food below you to turn green. All right, and next up is tweening the sauce. So we are gonna, and right now things just instantly turn green. It doesn't look that great, so I'm gonna throw a tween in that is gonna change their color to green. And that's gonna look a lot smoother than it just flashing to green. And I play around with the color a little bit. I don't end up liking the colors there, so I kind of have to look up how to make a color and throw that in as the value. Next is I lower the spawn rate on the power-ups because there were just too many of them. And I do a little test export so I can get some feedback on the game. And it's time to mess with the HUD and some other stuff. The HUD is a little sloppy. First up, I need a sound for the broom. So I ended up making one, and I'm going to go ahead and play it somewhere here for you guys, just so you can hear this beautiful sound. I made it from the jump on JSXFR QRSTUV. And all I did for that was I made it scratchy, and then I made it a little longer and a little lower in frequency. And to make it scratchy, I used the noise tab at the top. Okay, another thing to do is when the game's over, I need to get rid of all the extra power-ups, and I need to make the broom go away. I had a bug where if you collided with food after the broom animation was playing, you could have it stuck on the screen. So the next time you started up the game, you'd have the broom just blocking everything, and it was like a, free, boring win to a bunch of points. I didn't really want that. And had to change the RNG values a little bit. And I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. Oh, at the game's start, I didn't want the game to start with you playing immediately. It kind of seemed weird that it just started off already in a match. So now what I tried out first was just having the game over play at the end, but that was a little jarring too. What would be much better is if the game didn't start at all until the player chose to start it. So I ended up fixing that. Another thing is, if you have 2 coffee mugs, it wasn't playing a second broom animation, so I ended up just having it queue if it was already playing. All right, now time to fix the HUD. One of the things I didn't like was I just have these PNGs for the background and stuff. And I think here I'm trying to get a sound for the shield. And I had a lot of trouble with that. I was trying to make it go wah, 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 wah. I didn't really know what to do. I had to play with the retrigger and the sustain, I think, were 2 things that helped out with that. Also getting the frequency right. But I didn't want like a wee, 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 wee. I wanted a wah, 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 wah. You know what I'm saying? Not really happy with that. There's probably a better way to do it than this website. But again, I'm not a sound wizard, so there's that. Might cut some of this out. All right, there's that sound. I'll play it for you guys. Test that out. Okay, so on to the UI. So what I wanted to do was I wanted that gray gradient to stretch to the shape of the text that was there. That way there wasn't this like big gray box at the top that said like high score, and then there's this big empty spot, because I'm not really sure, you know, how large the points would end up being if like someone was good at the game. So I wanted enough room for like the points to grow, but I didn't want like a big gray box on it. So I was trying to figure out how to use containers. And containers have a fill setting that will basically make what's inside of them take up the size of the container. And figuring that out was a little wonky. And along with figuring that out, I had to redo a bunch of the code as well, because I have a bunch of references for things that I'm getting rid of eventually. So this had to be remapped to the items inside these containers and whatnot. All right, there we go. See, it's filling to the shape of the container, and the text is conforming to whatever rule as well. All right, so I've done something wrong here, and now I don't have my shape. And I think one of the problems was I needed one of the fills on and one of them off. And there's this like themes override thing I don't completely understand. I'll have to figure that out someday. Because see, I have my texture there, and then, there we go. Okay, well, no, that's the margins though. I don't really want the margins. All right, I figured that out, and it's time to face the player. So what that means is I want to put a face on the player. Someone who saw my video mentioned that, you know, that would look a lot better in the game. I also need to make it bigger because it's like really hard to see yourself on there. But with making it bigger, it's going to be harder to weave in and out of the objects that you're trying to avoid. So I also had to reduce the spawn rate and the speed at which the items spawn. So like when there's more, and so I have to rescale the bubble, and I got to put the face on. I put the face on, I'm like, dang, it looks a little boss-eyed. The eyes are too far apart, and now I'm thinking, okay, so I gotta make a copy of the scene, and then I end up putting the player bottle on and making it bigger, and then I kind of just decide, I can just make the face a little smaller and it looks okay. It's still, the eyes are still really far apart, but it's good enough. All right, so then I'm having this issue with when the game's over, I want the player to frown, and I never really figured this one out. And part of the issue was I'm disabling the player's process when it's game over, and that's why it's just kind of stuck on the screen. Oh, here's another funny bug. I never made reset poses for the facial animations. So when you get an ouch, it replaces the PNG of the eyes with that straight line. And I didn't tell it that it needs to go back to the big open eyes, because before, when the food hits the side of the screen, it's going to destroy itself anyway. So I have no reason for it to reset itself. So lesson learned. Okay, next, I got to get the particles. I want them to disappear when they hit the edge of that ray cast. So if you see that line, they disappear when they get to the around where the end of the line is, to give like a nice visual indicator of the food that you can sauce up. All right, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to fix. All right, yeah, here we go. This is I'm calling it done. I'll make a little surprise face when you're emitting particles, and there's the shield sound. I think I tried to get the broom at some point to show that off too. Oh, there's a broom. I'm gonna get it. Nope. Crash. Look at that. Look at how it tweens green and it looks pretty good. I think it takes about a second to turn green, but it was much better than when it instantly turned green. I think the shade looks a little weird. All right, here we go. We're gonna get the broom. Lovely sound. Getting a little busy and bonk. All right, well, that's all I got for this game. I think next, I'm not sure what project I'm doing next. I might try to do the River Raid one. Someone commented something they'd like to see made, and I'm still trying to see if I can get a prototype on that going. And if so, then that'll probably be the next video. But otherwise, please like, subscribe, comment, all that junk. I know everyone asks and it gets exhausting, but you know. And if there's anything you'd like to see me to try to do, please leave it below in the comments. If not, y'all have a good time, and thanks for watching.